thank you everyone for joining. I think Charlie's here. Charlie, you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Hello. Amazing. I will leave it over to you.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming along today. It's a pleasure to be invited back. I have really fond memories from UBL and the Collide Festival in particular. So it's amazing to come back and be part of the festival from the other side. So thank you to the UEL team, all the students for bringing me along. I'll give a little bit of an introduction. So as you guys know, today I'm going to be talking about movement as a form of medicine. And I truly believe it is. I'm assuming you guys too. You do too, and that's why you're here today. I'm going to be delving into a few different perspectives that I have. And essentially a lot of them are my own personal lived experiences, but then also what I've seen through my dance work and working with other people. If at any point you have like a burning question, please pop it in the chat if you don't mind, just because I can like go off on a tangent. I like a chat. So if you don't mind, pop it in the chat, and then at the end, I'll come back through to the questions if that's okay with everyone. But the time goes so quickly, so I just want to like get straight in there. So a little bit of an introduction to me. My name is Charlie Blair. I run a social enterprise called the Blair Academy. So we're all about health, happiness and hip hop. We launched back in June 2018, so we're nearly 3 years old now, and I graduated from UEL in 2017. So to be honest, it was always like a seed in my mind while I was at uni, but I needed to go out, work a few jobs, get a bit more experience under my belt before I could kind of launch and branch off on my own. At the Blair Academy, we envisage a world where hip hop brings health, happiness and well-being to lots of different people. And the main kind of pillars or focus points that we have are combating loneliness and social isolation, strengthening communities, and also bridging social and generational gaps. So a lot of the people we work with are older adults. We tend to go into care homes, day centres, residential living, hostels and homeless shelters as well. And to be honest, the company is a culmination of my own personal and professional experiences. So while I was at UEL, during my final year, my nan was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer, and I was kind of having to juggle like her chemotherapy appointments with my final piece and my dissertation, and it was just a really stressful, emotional time, as you can imagine. And I was caring for my nan, and she was given this exercise plan to follow, and she despised it, in all honesty. She was like, I'm not doing it, I don't want to, I don't like it. So of course, being a dancer, I said, look, I'm going to take this. I've got good like anatomical knowledge. I'm going to adapt it and make it really fun. I'm going to use some of my hip hop dance steps and just, you know, have fun with it. I thought, in all honesty, my nan would be quite like dismissive and say, no, I don't want to do that, turn it off. But she wasn't. She sat there and she gave it a go, and she really enjoyed it. She was going for it, even as a cancer patient. And it just got me thinking, you know, perhaps there's other older adults with health conditions, or, you know, just feeling the effects of getting a bit older and your body not quite listening to you the way it does when you're young. So I thought, you know, maybe there's other older adults that could benefit from this. So I started calling care homes and day centres just local to me, saying, look, I've got this idea, can I come and give it a go? Most of them thought I was insane. They're like, you do realise, you know, most of our residents are over 80 years old, a lot of them are in late stages of dementia. I said, yeah, I know, but I believe movement is medicine, and I can actually like help these people to kind of prevent their health conditions worsening or alleviate some of the symptoms and the effects that they're feeling. And a lot of them, as I say, were quite dismissive, but luckily some of them let me come and give it a go. And I'm still with those homes to this day. So I'm very, very grateful that they let me in to try the concept. And my nan, she kept saying, oh, you know, you're so caring, you should be a nurse or a carer. And to be honest, like I was just coming to the end of my dance degree. I was like, no, I want to be a dancer. I don't really want to train as a nurse, no offense.
Yeah.
So, you know, I kind of pushed the idea to the back of my mind. I was like, whatever. Didn't pay it much attention. And then my nan passed away at the end of 2018. And I just felt like compelled to listen to what she had said, and just take her advice. So I went and I trained as a carer for the elderly. So I used to go into their homes and help them with getting washed, getting dressed, having their meals, a little bit of household chores, things like that. And what it did is it opened my eyes to the kind of variety of health conditions that are out there. We're living a lot longer nowadays, which is fabulous. We're living long and energetic, fruitful lives, but often with lots of health conditions simultaneously affecting our health. So as I say, it really opened my eyes to the barriers that people faced in kind of accessing movement, exercise, dance. And as a carer, I felt quite disappointed that I didn't have the time to stay with these people and focus on these things. So we had an app on our phone, there was a checklist, we had to be there at a certain time, tick our boxes and leave by a certain time to go to the next client. So you can imagine it was quite difficult because I wanted to stay, put on some music, you know, reminisce, hear their ideas, and as I say, try and alleviate some of the effects of their health conditions. So that's when I really placed the focus on working with older adults, and kind of trying to improve the quality of their life in a very holistic way. So what I found is alongside the health conditions, lots of them were battling chronic stress, anxiety, and loneliness. And to be honest, it struck me because these people were a lot older than me, but those feelings resonated very deeply. And what I found is that these things, you know, stress, anxiety, loneliness, feeling isolated, they don't discriminate. It's something that can affect any of us, you know, regardless of our background, what we've been through, where we're at in life. You know, even at university, that can be an isolating experience for some people. You know, there's definitely moments in my dissertation where it felt like it was just me and, you know, the world was kind of caving in. Can really take myself back to those stressful moments. And I think it wasn't necessarily the work itself of university. I really enjoyed that. I'm very academic as well as creative, so I enjoyed it. But it was that idea of so much in life going on. And I think that's where a lot of us have these feelings of resonance with like stress and anxiety, because often we're trying to balance so much. So I was speaking to these older adults, and my feelings kind of resonated with theirs. And it took me back to when I was 19 and I was living in a YMCA hostel at the time. I'd been homeless, and it was a very isolating period for me. So this was just before I came to university. I was actually supposed to go to university a year earlier, but you weren't allowed to be in higher education if you lived in the hostel at the time. So I had to make a decision between my education and the roof over my head. So of course I chose the hostel, but it, you know, bugged me that all of my friends had gone to uni and I'd always, you know, done well at school and college and had this plan, and my plan had just completely gone. So I felt very alone, very isolated at the time. And it struck me that at 19, I felt the same as some of these adults in their 70s, 80s, 90s. So that's why essentially I do the work that I do. And I'm so passionate about movement as a form of medicine, because I've seen the effects not only that movements had on myself and being able to work through pain, trauma, stress, grief, anxiety. But as I say, I've been able to see the effects in other people as well, and how they have in turn benefited from what I do. So before I get kind of a bit deeper into that, I just wanted to give a little context on my connection to UEL, because I feel still very deeply connected and have lots of fond memories, but I forget that people that are connected to the university now may not know who I am or what's going on. So as I say, I graduated back in 2017. I did the BA Dance Urban Practice course, which is the course running this fantastic festival. I too got to work on this festival a few years back, and I was the finance manager. And I always hold that kind of fondly because that really catapulted my arts management career and started off the kind of skill set that I now use as a business owner. So I had no finance knowledge, no desire really to work with numbers. I was a dancer, but doing that really opened up my eyes to how much kind of admin, finance, business sides there were to being a dancer. Even if you were performing all the time, there was tax returns to do, and it suddenly dawned on me that there was much more to this than movement. So I was quite happy to go out there, soak up those skills and learn those things. So I did an internship while I was at university with Be Supreme, who are a fantastic charity that support women in hip hop in the UK. And Holly, who is their founder, was a lecturer at UEL at the time. So I was lucky to do that placement with her and then be offered a job at Be Supreme, and I still work with them now. So again, a really amazing connection that's kind of close to me. Following on from that, once I graduated, I got a graduate position at Stratford Circus Arts Centre, which is literally opposite the uni and where the Collide Festival would ordinarily run in face-to-face settings. So I was still, working with the students, liaising with the staff at UEL to curate events and meetings. So again, I still felt very much connected to the university, and I was coming back to do videos and stuff talking about my experience as an engineer. Then in 2019, I entered the E Factor competition. So it's a competition run by UEL and their enterprise team. And it's for current students or graduates of up to 2 years who have a business idea that they'd like support with. Admittedly, I had no idea that the competition existed. It was Jo Reed, who's a lecturer on the course, who sent it to me, and she was like, you should definitely apply. I've seen the stuff you've been doing with the elderly. It's great. You should go for it. So I signed up, and I thought, well, yeah, I do hip hop with old people. It's amazing to me, but is it going to be amazing to this panel of people and all of these other people that have business ideas? So I got into the boot camp. There was, I think, 30 of us in the boot camp, and it was about 3 months long. And they really tore the business apart so that I could build it up again. And I was just super grateful to be on that learning experience, to be back in the UEL building and soaking up all the knowledge and resources. I then made it to the final of the competition. So there were 6 businesses that went to the final. And again, I felt incredibly grateful to be there. I was a bit shocked because the caliber of businesses that had entered was very high, and everyone was amazing at pitching and talking about their idea. So I felt lucky to be in the final. I actually went on to win the competition, which was incredible. I was really just taken aback in the moment. I didn't even invite anyone to come and watch because I was so unsure of winning. I was like, no, don't bother. I'm just going to go along and enjoy the evening at NatWest Bank. But I went on to win. So again, I was able to kind of reconnect with UEL in a bit of a deeper way. And I got my mentor from UEL, Neil, who's still with me now. So he could have left a year ago and stopped as per our agreement, but he decided to carry on mentoring me, which is amazing. So that connection has stayed. And then again, the end of 2019, I won the UEL Alumni Entrepreneur of the Year, which was such a pleasure. It was amazing again to be called back and have that recognition. I felt really proud. I assumed that stuff like that would go to the business students because they had been studying business, and I had no business knowledge or background before I went into this. So yeah, I was very chuffed to get that award, and it's meant that I've been able to keep coming back to UEL and keep getting involved with amazing projects and doing stuff like this with the students. And also, supporting with different campaigns and just letting people know about all of the stuff that is on offer beyond their course. So that's why I'm connected to UEL. And I think why I've been brought in to kind of talk today is because most dancers, regardless of what kind of direction they take their career, have to balance a multitude of things, right? As humans, we have to balance family, friends, our social life with our work life and our fitness and our health. There's a lot going on for anyone, right? But for a dancer, especially, it's very likely that you'll have a portfolio career. You'll work many different jobs. Some of them might be PAYE and you'll be on a payroll. For others, you'll be self-employed and you'll be invoicing people and then chasing those invoices and re-chasing those invoices. And there's a lot of kind of administrative work behind the scenes, even if you are spending the majority of your career performing. And I think for myself, I've always thought that I worked really well under pressure, and I've appreciated my anxiety as a bit of a kind of boost. Like it keeps me going, it keeps me energized and makes me hit deadlines and keeps me diligent and hardworking. But it's very, very easy to cross over that line and for your stress and anxiety to become something that is negative in your life and is impacting you in a negative way. So for myself, I found quite early on in the business that you cannot pour from an empty glass. So when I was first starting the business, I was still working full time in my graduate job and I was just doing the business at the weekends. Then I took down the hours in my job and added an extra day for the Blair Academy. And then again, I took down another day, added more hours. And it all worked really well on paper. It seemingly came together and I could be in this place at that time and then fit this workshop in and then do this and then do that. The reality was very, very different from what was on paper. I love being organized and scheduling things in, but I wasn't able to draw that line and say, okay, that's too much. I need to say no to this. I need to create time to rest. And what I didn't realize, and what I want to share with you all today, is that your body keeps the score, right? It keeps a little tally. It keeps track of all the chronic stress that we put it through, all the anxiety, the overthinking, the doubts, the negative self-talk. It keeps track of all of that. And it just kind of lingers. And a lot of us, we push it down, push it down, push it down, and we keep kind of going in autopilot. We get on with our busy day-to-day lives and we say, I'll deal with that later. It's not really affecting me. I'll deal with that some other time. And we keep plodding on, right? Particularly as a self-employed, freelance, busy creatives. We've got a lot to think about, a lot to do. Some of us have got families to look after, children. There's so much to juggle. So we put it on a back burner. We push it to the side. We keep submerging it down into our body. And what I found with myself and a lot of the people that I now support is that sooner or later, your body goes, nope, not doing this anymore. We are not going through this. And it all bursts out in one way or another. How it bursts out and how it manifests will be different for all of us, right? It'll be very different for each person. But what I do know is that it builds up and it catches up on you. So where I was seeing a lot of health conditions amongst older adults, I was seeing dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, stroke recovery, arthritis, obesity, diabetes. I was seeing so many health conditions, cancers of all sorts. And I started reading a lot about the effects of stress and how if you look into lots of these health conditions that many of us will have familiarity with through family or friends or what have you, a lot of them, despite diet, lifestyle, can be directly linked to the chronic stress that we put our body under, right? All of us as humans have a fight or flight mechanism. Yeah, when we get into a stressful scenario, our body decides whether to stay and fight whatever's happening, or we need to run. And this is primal. Yeah, this is installed in us as humans. Years ago, it would have been like, a saber-toothed tiger coming over and we would have gone, right, do we fight the tiger or do we run? And that response would have been really useful in saving our lives. Now, as humans, we have this fight or flight response switched on all the time, nearly. And if you're someone who, as I say, is juggling a lot and is under a lot of pressure and balancing a lot and dealing with a lot of stress, that fight or flight response is on most of the time for you. And what that means is your body is pumping a lot of cortisol around, and cortisol is our stress hormone. So sometimes we're going, say for an exam, I'm going to my dance exam, and my body gives me a little pump of cortisol, a little bit of stress and anxiety, so that I can really get into the zone and perform at my best. It's healthy stress. It's encouraging me to do my best and do what I need to do. However, when we're pumping a lot of cortisol around our body, we're in a place where our body can't differentiate when it should be here, ready to fight or flight, and when it should be nice and relaxed. So what we often find is we burn out. When we hit this point, we burn out. We become very fatigued, mind, body, and spirit, and our body doesn't cooperate. So as I say, you cannot pour from an empty glass. And this is what I found. I was burning myself out. I was doing so much, stretched in so many different directions, working. Like when I was a carer, I would work from 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. caring. And then I would crouch down in an alleyway in the street and change into my Blair Academy clothes and go and teach my sessions. Then I would come home to the mattress that I had on the floor and sleep surrounded by leaflets and roller banners. And I was prepared to drive myself into such a low place in my physical and mental health for the sake of my business and my productivity. And what I didn't realize is that rest and productivity are simultaneous. You can't have one without the other. Like they're so intrinsically linked, and rest is a big part of being productive and being the best dancer, teacher, choreographer, performer, business person that you can be. So I had to learn the hard way. I had to end up in hospital multiple times in a position where I wasn't able to go to university or go to my job or run my business. And there was a time where, you know, I'd missed a lot of time at university, and the lecturers were saying to, you know, what's going on, what's happening? And it was so hard. Like I remember a time in my second year where I was being physically sick for 12 weeks straight because I was so chronically stressed. And it was so difficult to explain to people what was happening, and to explain, no, there's all these nerve endings in my stomach and I have a very bodily response to stress. I'm just really stressed at the moment. So for me, it was something that I'd battled with for such a long time. And as I say, all of us have that natural bodily response, and it's useful, it's great. But when we take it too far, and that is the only response that our body is going to all the time, we can become very unwell. So as I said, anxiety and stress, it can manifest itself in so many different ways for different people. And for some, it will present itself as being really nervous and feeling restless. And it will be quite apparent that the person is agitated. They might have an increased heart rate. You'll see sweating. For others, it can be more of an internal experience where they're having intrusive thoughts, and it's more a feeling of overwhelm with their own kind of existence and everything that they have going on. So I'm always really mindful of the fact that we're all in one way or another battling something, you know, behind closed doors. We've all got things that we're trying to juggle and we're trying to maintain. So I think it's really important, you know, as you enter your career, throughout your career, at the end of your career, when you're retiring and living out a relaxing life, it's important to have this in mind and to make a conscious effort to curb our stress levels in the same way that we make a conscious effort to like work on diet and exercise. I think those are like our go-tos when we think of like preventing ourselves from becoming unwell. We think about, right, what am I going to eat? What exercise am I going to do to maintain, you know, my muscles and my strength and my joint and my balance and coordination? But we don't pay enough attention to what's going on up here, how we're going to maintain peace in our mind, even when there's chaos around us, and how if we don't do that, it will catch up on us. So for me, as I say, anxiety and stress have been prevalent throughout my life, fortunately, unfortunately, however you want to look at it. So as a child, I was extremely anxious because I grew up with a lot of domestic violence. So for the first 15 years of my life, I lived with both of my parents, but my dad struggles with an alcohol addiction and is very abusive. So that was a very difficult time. And again, I spent the majority of my childhood living in my fight or flight response, with my house being smashed up every day and my safety being compromised, my mum's safety being compromised. My house was set on fire when I was 9 years old. So I had a lot of stressful situations as a child, and I internalized that. And even like unknowingly, all of those things were like soaking up into my body to kind of later burst out in adulthood. And I think because I went through that, I became a perfectionist from very early on. I felt that my achievements were the only thing that I had control over. I didn't feel like I had much control in my life. I didn't know what was happening in my household from one day to the next, what I was going to come home to. So for me, I zoned into anything that I could be in control of. So in some ways, I was attempting to kind of achieve my way out of the stress, and also give myself something to focus on. So a lot of us, again, will react differently to things going on. For some people, some young people, they'll have very aggressive outbursts. They might replicate some of the behavior they've seen at home. For me, I believed I could change the situation if I was better, if I could be this great daughter, if I could achieve these wonderful things. So that was the mindset that I had from very young. So I was taught from a very young age to kind of put myself last and to go flat out for the sake of trying to please and impress other people. And I think a lot of us will be able to have that feeling, you know, even if you haven't grown up with any kind of abusive situations in your household, just the notion of wanting to impress your parents and make them proud. I think a lot of us have that. So I had that, and because of the experiences that I had growing up, a lot of things were normalized to me that shouldn't have been normal. So for instance, I thought that like men throwing things or punching people was a natural reaction to them becoming angry. I didn't know that that wasn't the normal way to behave. Or even like with love, I saw love as my mum just giving everything to my dad, regardless of what he did to her, she was still there. So I had a lot of kind of warped ideas around self-esteem, looking after myself, my own well-being, and that all mounted. And as a teenager, I ended up in abusive relationships. So I somewhat repeated the cycle because, again, I had a lot of things that were normalized to me. So I didn't see that there was anything wrong. At 19, I was homeless, lived in a hostel. And then after that, once I'd eventually got into my own place to live, I was able to reapply to university, come to UEL and start kind of a new chapter. But for anyone, university is a stressful time. And then I left, had a big responsible graduate job, which was really stressful. And then I decided to launch my own business just to you know, add a little bit more stress onto the plate. And as I say, although I'd been in autopilot and I'd been a high achieving person throughout all of this, my body was keeping the score. It was keeping track. And when I got to 25, I hit a real low point. So I had a relationship that ended, a breakup. And then a week after, my nan, who I mentioned earlier, passed away. And a week after that, I lost my job. So you can imagine I was in a very low place and I couldn't really see a light at the end of the tunnel. And I was in a place of like passing out, regularly being sick, having panic attacks where I was trembling uncontrollably and could not get a hold of them whatsoever. And it became apparent to me that I had to do something about this chronic stress and about not dealing with my lack of being able to balance life properly, because otherwise it really, not to be dramatic, it was going to kill me, in years to come. If I didn't deal with it, it was going to catch up and the health implications would get more and more serious. The pain would continue to store in my body, and that pain prevents all of the cells from functioning as they should. So for me, it was really being at like rock bottom that A, told me like I have to change, and B, was a big stark reminder, hey, that movement is medicine. What are you doing? Stop laying in. You need to get up and move. Like I had to give myself a real kick. Like I was in a place of, I don't want to dance. I'm going through it right now. I don't want to, express myself. I don't want to create. And I remember I got asked to do a performance a couple of weeks after my nan's funeral. And initially I said, no, I'm not in the headspace. I don't want to do it. But my body was screaming at me to move and to release what I was going through my body. I'd been able to verbally express some of it, but as I say, my body was still holding on to that pain and it needed an outlet. So I went and I did the performance. I was really anxious, but I did it, and it was one of the most liberating things I've ever done, because it just proved to myself my own narrative and my own message that, I work by every day, that movement is medicine, and we have to let our mind and our body feel what it needs to feel. We have to work through the things that, we come across. When we're at uni, personal life doesn't go on pause. It doesn't go, oh, all right, you're going through a stressful time, let me just give you a bit of chill. No, it doesn't work like that. You launch a business, you get the job that you were really hoping for. Again, the rest of your life doesn't go on standstill and go, okay, here you go, place your focus there. So we have to be prepared from very early on to be able to balance things consciously, to consciously take time out and avoid burnout. So I wanted to give you guys a few ways that you can spot burnout coming on. And now, like, I'm very finely tuned into my body, and I know when I need to rest, when I need to eat, when I'm dehydrated, and all of those things contribute to burnout. So if you wake up in the morning and you're dreading facing what you have to do in the day and all of your responsibilities, and you feel overwhelmed by your schedule, that's a sign that you're getting burnt out. If you constantly feel tired and lethargic and lack the energy to do the things that you usually enjoy, you're probably burnt out. If you work long hours, I'm so guilty of this. If you work long hours thinking it's going to make you more productive and you're going to get so much more done, and you'll sleep when you're dead. Who needs sleep? No, you're probably burnt out. If you feel quite negative when challenges arise and you're not sure what to do and it becomes a really stressful scenario for you, probably burnt out. If you've lost your confidence, your self-esteem, and you're struggling to remember why you're on your journey, whatever that journey may be, you're probably burnt out. If you feel really irritable and a bit detached from your usual self, your usual feelings, your usual emotions, and you feel, oh, I'm not quite been myself lately, you are probably feeling burnt out. And I think it's so important to flag these things. I mean, there's many more, but these for me are the kind of obvious markers of when I'm like, whoa, yeah, you need to do something. You need to intervene. And if it was somebody else, if you were watching your friend go through a difficult time and you were seeing them, struggling with their physical health, their mental health, just their overall mood and, their aura and how they usually are as a person, you would intervene. You would say something as, a kind of prevention is better than cure idea. You'd go, right, I'm going to I'm going to do is I'm going to take them for a day out, or, you know, I'm going to make sure I have a long video chat with them and have a good catch up. You do something, you take preventative measures. It should be no different with yourself, right? We have to ingrain these kind of routines into ourselves, because regardless of, you know, what choices we make in our career, whether we're performing, whether we're working in admin, we're in marketing, or, you know, we've stopped performing, we've taken a different route, we are always going to have things to juggle in life. And, you know, the coronavirus pandemic has been a real example of how you can be the most organized person and you still can't plan for everything. You know, you have no idea what life is going to throw at you. And I always say, you can't kind of choose the cards that you're dealt by any means. Some of us are dealt a rough hand, but you can choose the way that you respond to those things. And through our experiences, a lot of us, our bodies have become attuned to dealing with things in a certain way. So as I say, through my experiences growing up, I was used to dealing with my stress by zoning into a project, getting on with work, closing off. I was actually very quiet as a child, which most people don't believe now. They're like, yeah, right, of course you were. Look at you talking to all these people. But I was very quiet. I found it difficult to express myself. And again, movement became a medicine for me, even at that age, to be able to work things through my body that I was feeling without saying anything. I found that so powerful. I was like, I don't even have to say a word, and I get to work out what's going on in my mind. So, as I say, always kind of bringing ourselves back to that anchor of movement is medicine. And I used to think that movement was just my medicine. I thought, okay, I'm a dancer, you know, I'm this way inclined, that's it. But as I say, through my work with older adults, homeless people, people with mental health problems, people that are fleeing domestic violence, people that are in school, university, all of them have had this like thread that binds them all together, which is that in one way or another, they felt what it is to be deeply stressed. Okay, it's something that all of us have relatability for. So for me, it was like, okay, stress is universal. Dance is definitely universal, because it doesn't matter, even if you don't speak the same language, if there's a barrier between you and the person, you can connect through movement. So as I say, I had to keep bringing myself back to movement is medicine. It's not just my medicine, it's medicine, right? So, you know, when you're in school and you didn't want to do PE and they'd say, come on, it's good for you, you feel better if you do a bit of movement. And you were like, yeah, right, I don't want to play netball. I want to sit out, I don't want to do it this week. But they were right. All those PE teachers were right. Any form of exercise, getting out for a walk, running up and down your stairs, doing some star jumps, some yoga, any form of moving our body releases positive endorphins and it boosts our mood. It makes us feel good. So I always encourage people, when you're feeling low, to move, right? Get moving. But on the same token, you have to know when to stop moving and have a well-deserved rest. So for me, movement is medicine. And a big part of movement is staying still sometimes, right? We have that even with choreography. Some of the most, you know, famous choreographers out there have used silence and stillness as profound moments in their work, and they're profound moments for us too. And again, back to that point of we can't pour from an empty glass, right? What you need to do is fill your own glass first. And then when the glass starts to overflow, other people can catch little bits of that overflow. And that's fine, because you can afford to give it away, right? But if the glass is empty, it's no good to anyone. And I would say we spend a lot of time, regardless of the career we go into, preparing for the career, training, you know, doing all sorts of work experience and getting experience under our belt. And you don't want that to go to waste. You want to have longevity in your career, whether you're a performer or whatever you're doing. You want to have longevity. You want it to last. Yeah. And you're not going to last, basically, if you don't think of constructive ways to deal with the stressors in our lives.
Charlie,
Yeah,
sorry, do you mind if we have like 10 minutes at the end? So I know we're like 10 past now, so say 20 past.
absolutely.
Could we leave 10 minutes to for people to kind of jump in, ask some questions, just because I've got a few questions coming in on the chat.
100%.
But yeah, sorry to
No,
interrupt you.
I'm here for it. I'm loving it. I want it to be what you guys like want to know, you know? So I
Yeah.
love
So if anyone has any questions, it's probably best to unmute and then just go for it. Anyway, carrying on.
yeah, so I'm just going to do one little bit more. So, of course, movement is our medicine. That's what it's all about today. But I just wanted to give some other tips because for me, it hasn't been the only medicine. It hasn't been the only thing that's helped me to balance all of the stuff going on. And I'd also like to point out that not only is balance going to boost your health and your well-being and your mood, it's going to boost your earning potential, so thus in turn boosting your income. So come away from this idea of working really hard to get the life that you want, and in turn look at working smart. Right, we need to work smart, not hard. We are working hard, but there's a way to do it so that we don't burn out. I remember, like, it struck me when I was in hospital. I'd been pushing myself because I didn't want to cancel any bookings or lose any of my custom. And there I was in hospital, drip in the arm, losing bookings, unable to go to them. And if I had just taken the time I needed when I needed it, it wouldn't have caught up with me in that way. So you're losing money by not dealing with your stress, and you're losing the potential to actually increase the money that you're making because you're in a better headspace, you're making better decisions, and you're being realistic with the time that you have. So other things that I found just helpful in kind of reducing my own stress has been aromatherapy. So I'm big on like fragrances in my house, calming fragrances, breathing those in and soaking up things on every level. So as movers, I think like movement is everything for us, right? And to me, everything has a vibration. Everything gives off a vibration. Even like the blood and everything pumping around our body is moving, even when we're still. So I feel like when we're trying to reduce stress, we need to soak things up from every angle. So I think about the food that I'm eating, the things I'm smelling, the clothes I'm wearing, the music I'm hearing, the visuals I'm seeing. I think about all of those things to really tune in and bring myself to a different headspace. In tune with that is breathing exercises. Again, as a dancer, we are taught about breath work and the power of breath. But I found it revolutionary in curbing like my panic attacks, and just being able to calm myself in stressful situations and make a rational decision instead of having a really emotional response. So breathing, movement, as I say, in any realm. So if you don't want to dance all the time, that's fine. Go for a run, go for a walk, do some yoga, jump up and down on the spot, just move your body. Journaling, I'm really big on expressing in written form as well, and then hopefully vocalizing those things later down the line. Clearing my space, I'm big on tidy mind, tidy house, all of that kind of stuff. So I think if you've got a lot of chaos here in your life, it's good to have a nice peaceful environment to deal with that in, at least. I also like time in nature and bringing the outdoors in. I find that really calming. Being responsible for my time management. So I'm good at that in a like business sense and going to meetings on time, but I wasn't good with having a bedtime and getting enough sleep and having a good morning routine and eating breakfast. So I'm now as strict with my personal care as I am with my work ethic and my grind. Facing things. So I always say to people, face things head on. Don't bury them down and submerge them, because your body's keeping the score and it's going to keep a tally and it's going to catch up on you. Remind yourself why you started. So this is probably like the key thing for me. You have to be resilient in life, right? We're going to face difficulties. It's a given. But what keeps us pushing through is our why. Why am I doing this? So for me, as you've heard, there's a lot of background, right, as to why I'm doing this. I'm doing this for my mum. I'm doing this for my inner child. I'm doing this for my nan. There's so many elements, and I remind myself of those regularly because it keeps me pushing through. And those reasons are bigger than any stress that life can throw at me. Like, I honestly believe that. So know your why. Why are you here doing this? Why are you on this path? Whether it's a business, a job, training, like whatever you're in, why are you doing this? What is your why? Because it's that's going to compel you to keep pushing forward. Be mindful with eating and breaks. So as a business owner, there's nobody to say, right, you start work at this time, have a lunch break at this time, and finish at this time. Nobody does that. And especially working from home, it was very easy to just bury myself in this corner, and go without meals, go without a lunch break. There was times where I'd be like, wow, I've been here for like 16 hours. Maybe I should like go outside and just like have some fresh air. So you have to be strict with ourselves, to make sure we're getting sufficient breaks, rest, food, water. Learn to say no. I was a big yes person. I took every opportunity and anything that arose. I was like, yes, I'll make time for it. Yes, I'll make it happen. Yes. That is very damaging because, again, you're pouring from your cup and it becomes empty, and then you're not able to give to anyone. And nobody wants that. We want to be able to, live our fruitful, exciting lives. So learn to say no and don't feel guilty about it. And also just view the things that you go through. I know it's difficult at the time, but view them as some kind of learning experience or an anchor into like your journey. So you can imagine, while I was going through all of these things, I couldn't understand why they were happening to me. I always thought like, I did well at school. I went to college. I did what everybody told me to do. I had a job from 13 in my local high street, and still I'd ended up homeless. I'd been in these awful violent situations, and I just used to think, why me? Why? Like, I don't get it. That mindset was not helpful. Although it's understandable at the time, it's not helpful. So now in hindsight, I can say I've turned all of my pain and the things that have deeply stressed and traumatized me ultimately into the thing that I wake up and do every day. I help other people with their lives, and it pays my bills. And I feel very, very privileged to be able to say that movement and the way that it's impacted my life and other people's lives is what like keeps me going every day. So I have very like strong, profound reasons as to why I'm on this path and why it's so important for all of us to be so mindful of balance, and movement being so good for us and rest being equally as good for us, and being able to get that balance right between the two. So if you take away anything from today, I really want it to be that notion of not being able to pour from an empty cup. You're no good to anyone, to yourself, your employer, your uni, anyone, if you're in hospital or you're injured, you're bedbound, and you don't want all of that hard work and that passion for your career to go to waste because you haven't listened to your body and now your stress has caught up with you. So please just be as mindful like with stress and anxiety, as you are like with your diet, smoking, drinking, things like that, because it's equally as important. So yeah, I'm going to go to the chat. I'll do the chat questions first, and then if there's anyone that has anything else, just unmute and say it. Many congratulations. Thank you. Did you get the chance to go back to unis and talk about the stress of and the effects of stress and anxiety in students and what they can help? Yeah, so I've been to UEL a couple of times and also Oxford University to talk to the students about managing stress and anxiety. And I do a lot of work in schools and colleges as well with the young people there. And the teachers are so grateful because they're saying like it's an epidemic, like stress, and people like living in it, because as I say, we all experience stress from time to time, that's normal, but there's a difference between a bit of fluttering stress here and there and chronically feeling stressed out. It's the same with like anxiety and depression. All of us have down days, all of us have moments where we doubt ourselves, but there crosses that line where we are constantly living in that state and it becomes bigger than us. And I'm a person that's been through counseling, therapy, been on antidepressants, anti-anxiety medication, and movement for me tops all of those in terms of the like positive impact that it's had on my life, and being able to heal from these things and then turn them into something good. So yeah, I've been able to go back to unis and also like colleges, because I was surprised even myself at how like young students are getting really stressed with exams, particularly now like with COVID, things being done digitally. It's very different. It's a different world for people to navigate. So that causes a lot of anxiety in itself. Really interesting, helpful. I'm a bit confused on how to actually balance all the aspects of life. Do you have any tips on these? Definitely. So when I was saying about like saying no to things, that's important. If you are in a place where you've already taken them on, you've already said the yes, and now you're feeling really overwhelmed, it's important to be able to scale back, assess what you're doing day to day, what's taking up your time, your energy, your emotions, what's causing the most stress and anxiety, and work out which ones are most important. So for instance, when the pandemic first hit, I lost all of my bookings in our care homes, day centres, etc., because we weren't allowed in because of the virus. So I was very stressed. I was like, what am I going to do? I've just hired staff. I've now got no work for them. So I went out and I got a couple of freelance jobs. I got three jobs. One working in a centre for young people with disabilities, one with Be Supreme, who I mentioned earlier, my former dance company, and one with William Morris Big Local, who are a charity. I'm still running their youth group. So I took on all this extra stuff because my business load had gone down. All of a sudden, as you can imagine, though, as things are going back to normal, the business has come back up, and Charlie here has got responsibilities left, right, and centre. So what I've had to do now is to be able to scale back and say, okay, what takes priority? What's most important? What makes me the most money? What do I love doing the most? And although it's difficult at first, we have to kind of filter out the things that are causing the most stress and having the least positive impact. And there is a bit of like muddling through and getting on with stuff, just getting on with it. I get that because I've been through that, and I needed that to be in the place I am now, where I have staff and I can delegate. But we still have to find some balance within ourselves when we are in that place of not being able to delegate, not being able to have support, not being able to get help. So I would say, if you're just starting, trying to find balance in your life, make that list, the things that are causing you the most stress, the things that have the biggest positive impact, and see like where the crossover is. So you want least stress, most enjoyment and positive impact, most money. That's like the trail that we all want, right? So we want to kind of be able to sort those things. So I like to do it with post-it notes so that I can move them around and kind of have my categories and go, okay, right, yeah, this this dog walking service that I took on every Sunday morning that earns me 20 quid a week. You know, I like the dogs, but it's not really my thing. It's not making me a lot of money. I'm stressing that one of the dogs is going to run off somewhere one day and it's going to be all my fault. I think that can come, you know, down the list. I think I'm going to work towards leaving that job. So, you know, it's not an instant thing. Unfortunately, we can't go, right, cut, balanced achieved. Doesn't work like that. But it is about being strict with ourselves every day, and also being easy and nice on ourselves as well. It's finding that really kind of fine line and knowing when to keep going, when to push on and you're going to reap the rewards, and when to scale back and say, no, my body, my mind, everything is telling me I need to rest, or I need to face this stressful situation, or, you know, I need to go out and take a walk. I need to get some air. So I think a lot of it in the beginning is just about changing your routines and how you would ordinarily respond to something. So for instance, when I would have a stressful business situation before, I would usually cry and get really like emotionally upset and have to sit in a dark room for about half an hour after, just like consoling myself. I don't let myself get to that place anymore. When I feel those feelings coming on, I intervene straight away. I'm like, right, let me light my incense, let me do some breath work, I'm going to meditate. Like I come in and I force myself to put in those preventative measures so that I don't let myself go to that place again. So we all have it in us to become overcome by our stress and our anxiety. But it's about making a really conscious effort to implement lifestyle changes, I would say.
Hi, Charlie. That was actually my question. Thank you very much for answering.
Oh, you're so welcome. I hope I answered it okay.
Yeah, definitely. It was very helpful. I just have one more question. So is your business a one-person thing, or do you have like opportunities for students or other people that are maybe interested to like try a similar thing, or just, get involved basically?
Sure. So for about the first year and a half, I was a one-woman army. It was just me. I was doing everything. And that's because I kind of had to, because I wasn't able to pay anyone. And a lot of us will have that if we have a business. Now, however, I've got 6 teachers. So I've got 6 people that teach for me. All of them, bar one, have come from UEL. Which is amazing. So I had an intern. Sophie was my intern initially, but I was so impressed by just her dedication, her commitment, her work rate, that I trained her to be a full-time member of staff with us. And we are actually hiring at the moment. So little plug here. I've just taken on an admin person to support with that side of the business, but and I have my co-director, Dennis, who some of you will know through Collide Festival and UEL. Dennis is my co-director now. He helps me with a lot of the kind of big top end decisions, but we are still looking for people to join the teaching team. So if you go on our Instagram at the Blair Academy, all one word, you'll get a little bit more of a feel of what we do, the different groups that we work with, and what we're looking for in teachers. We also have volunteering opportunities when we do events. So hopefully in a couple months' time, we'll be back to putting on our battles, our live events, and we'll definitely need helping hands. We've been reliant on lovely, amazing helping hands from the start, and they're still a big part of the business now, even though I do have team members. So yeah, please do feel free to get in touch after if you want to find out more about what we do, how you could help out one day at an event. We do lots of lovely like lunches and brunches for the older adults we work with. So there's free food too. So get in touch if you do want to find out a bit more, for sure.
Thank you. I'll have a look, definitely.
You're welcome. Well, we got 2 minutes. Is there anything else? Anyone else? Don't be shy. I'm not shy, as you can tell. I'm not easily offended either. So if you've got something and you're thinking, oh, I don't know if it's really appropriate to ask this, just ask it. It's fine, honestly. The life I've lived, I've seen enough. You won't shock me. It's fine. No? All good? Cool. Well, if there's no more questions, I just want to say a big, big thank you. You guys could have been anywhere. It's Sunday and it's relatively sunny where I am anyway. So you could have been anywhere doing anything this afternoon and you were here with me. So I really, really appreciate it. And of course, a massive shout out to UEL and to the Collide team for even considering me and bringing me to do this talk. I'm very, very grateful, and I love still being connected to the uni. So thank you for having me, and thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Charlie. No, you've been amazing. Really, really appreciate you being here and doing this workshop. I'm really, really happy it went so well. So thank you.
Anything pops up after, guys, you think, oh, I wish I asked her that, just pop me a message on Instagram. I'm more than happy to, have a chat, give advice. I do mentoring as well for people that are starting a business or are self-employed as artists. So if you've ever got any questions, My inbox is open.
Amazing.
Thank you very
thank
much.
you all so much. Have a lovely rest of your Sunday, and we'll see you in the next event.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.